is described as the second most sophisticated cell in the entire nervous system. Second only to the BET cell, that's B-E-T-Z, the cells that are in the cerebral cortex that you think with. But the white supremacy system said, I can't let them be all that they can be.
Well, brothers and sisters, it seems only right that on this Saturday night that we would be in this place to finally get the record straight. Our ancestors have given us the right to sing the praises of one Cress Welsing. She told the story, the melanin story she told that made us know that we were so bad, so black, and so bold. Praises be to Cress Welsing. Thank you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I am thrilled to be here at the 4th Annual Melanin Conference. I hope my eyes don't look too tired. I was in New Orleans before, but here I am. I feel that the ancestors have been invoked this evening, and I feel that they have given me the charge, and they continue to give me the charge to recruit for the Army of Justice, to recruit males and females and males that are going to take their melanin selves and lead this army that is going to end the greatest injustice that has ever been on the planet Earth, and that is the injustice of racism and the injustice of white supremacy. An injustice that I maintain began because some people had the misfortune not to have melanin. I was going to entitle my remarks, "The Gold Mine of Melanin." There is a gold mine in melanin, but we have a problem that we have to solve before there can be the full expression of the power of melanin. And recently, I've got my board up here so I can go to work. Recently, I have begun to think about our task in terms of a pyramid. And really, we can call this army of justice, we can really begin to call ourselves the pyramid builders. And at the top of this pyramid, we have justice. And we've got this eye at top of the pyramid. And we can talk about that in a little while. But I say that at the base of the pyramid is the dynamic of truth. Truth revealed. truth revealed about racism and about white supremacy. At this next level, going up this pyramid, we have to place understanding. Because we not only have to reveal truth, but we have to have an understanding in depth of what it is that we have revealed. And then we have all of the areas of people activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. Those are the areas of people activity through which we have to express our understanding and our knowledge of truth. Atop the areas of people activity, the next level has to do with what has happened to us. And what has happened to us is that we have learned to despise and to hate melanin. And as a result of that, we do not have unity and we do not have the force and power that we need to bring about justice. Some of the forms of that hate are reflected in patterns of behavior such as gossiping, name-calling, squabbling with one another, cursing one another, being discourteous, being disrespectful, stealing from one another, robbing one another, fighting one another, killing one another, using and selling drugs to one another. This is the power of racism and the power of white supremacy. Throwing down trash, making children believe that they can be adequate mothers and fathers leading to teen pregnancy, pretending that racism does not exist. And then we're going to put at the next layer of the pyramid some things that we were taught in the Principles of Kwanzaa by Ron Kawenga, some things that we need to focus on. I may not have them in order, and if I forget any of them, help me out. Unity, purpose, creativity, faith, self-determination, collective work and responsibility, and cooperative economics. That's it, isn't it? Okay. Don't anybody come up here and try to read this. I hope you're making notes. You won't be able to read this. Atop that, we are going to put something from the work of Neely Fuller, the 4 uses of time for the victims of white supremacy. He has suggested and recommended that we discipline ourselves and use our time, energy in 4 ways and 4 ways alone. Number 1 is constructive conversation. Constructive conversation is discussions about racism and how we're going to solve the problem of white supremacy. Constructive activity, that means building, repairing, making, entrepreneuring, all kinds of things that are constructive activity. 3, sufficient eating and sleeping, and hold your seats. Sexual intercourse no more than twice a week so you stop worrying about it. Is everybody with that? Now this is what we're trying to achieve It is a difficult task, but so was it difficult to build the original pyramid. Lifting those gigantic stones that constructed the original pyramids is something akin to what it is that we must do to bring about this revolution so that there is justice on the planet and that there is peace in the universe. I want this army that I am attempting to recruit to be able to go out, each and every soldier, to be able to go out into the world, wherever it is that they travel, wherever it is that they live, and to share knowledge and understanding of racism. I think that one of our greatest challenges and one of the things that is going to bring us very great results is that when we use the word racism, to be able to say exactly and very clearly what it is that we are talking about. Simply to use the R word is not sufficient, because people will come along and say, well, you're saying that I'm racist, and I'm saying that you're racist. Everybody's a racist, right? No. Racism means white supremacy, and we can go on to detail it from that point. I say that racism is a global system of behavior organized by persons who classify themselves as white, whether consciously or subconsciously determined. The goal objective is for white genetic survival on the planet Earth and to prevent white genetic annihilation. Because on this planet, the vast majority of people have melanin in their skins, and they are black, brown, red, and yellow. All of those people are genetically dominant compared to people who classify themselves as white. Now that's very long-winded, but I certainly hope that we can begin to master that definition or some definition of racism, so that when we use that word, we can say, this is what we're talking about. And if you're talking to someone who classifies him or herself as white, and then you challenge them and you say, not a hostile challenge, an intellectual, analytical challenge, and you say, what is the definition that you are using? And if your experience is the same as mine, then they come to a halt. They are not able to succinctly describe what it is that they're talking about, but that does not stop us. Now, there may be some persons in the audience who haven't heard me talk about racism, so let me just drop back a little bit and share with you how I came to understand racism in the way that I understand it. I met Neely Fuller in 1967. Neely Fuller is a guard at the Bureau of Engraving in the District of Columbia. He had started writing about racism during the Korean War, and he made a very profound conclusion. I consider it to be profound. He said racism was a system. It's not institutional, it is a system. A system encompasses institutions. He said racism is a system. The system is global. It is global as well as local. That means it can be here in Dallas or New Orleans, but it is also all over the world. There is no place on planet Earth where racism defined as white supremacy does not exist. It is everywhere. He went further to say, unlike Karl Marx, who said that economics caused racism, Neely Fuller turned that upside down and said that the system of white supremacy establishes specific patterns of behavior in all areas of people activity: economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. So that everything that is done 24 hours a day by this collective is for the purpose of establishing maintaining, expanding, and refining white supremacy. So when I heard this gentleman say that, my brain computer said, that man is really saying something. And I wondered what would cause them to establish this behavioral dynamic, that it seemed the places that I had been on planet Earth, the few places that I had been, every place, this system was intact. I remember when I first went to Europe, I thought, well, it probably won't be there. It was there. When I went to Mexico, it was there. Go to the Bahamas, it is there. It is everywhere, okay? So I said, why? What would cause it? And I came to the conclusion that what was producing this global pattern of behavior that was causing us to have so much grief was the fact that on this planet, 1/10 of the people have white skin, 9/10 of the people are black, brown, red, and yellow. And the black, brown, red, and yellow people, unlike the propaganda that the people who classify themselves as white, they were busy telling us that it was the black, brown, red, and yellow people who were genetically inferior. But indeed, it was they who were feeling genetically inadequate because all of the black, brown, red, and yellow people are genetically dominant in terms of skin coloration to the people who are classified as white. So around the 13th, 14th century, or after the people who left Europe and circumnavigated the planet and found out that every place they landed, the people were colored. There was no place outside of Europe where there were people who were classified as white. Everybody on planet Earth was colored, and if these white male persons in these little boats stopped and had sexual intercourse with the ladies of color and waited for 9 months, they found out about genetic dominance without having a big genetics laboratory. They found that all of the children, when you mix white plus black, white plus brown, white plus red, white plus yellow, equals colored. So they learned something that was very, very critical. They had found out this information from the time that people who classify themselves as white began to come into Africa long time ago. They also found that white was genetically annihilated. By the time they circumnavigated the planet and found that there were non-white people or people of color everywhere on the planet, they understood that they had a very, very serious problem, and that serious problem was that white could be genetically annihilated. Now, I don't know how many people in this audience saw the Time magazine cover for April the 9th. How many people saw that? Very good. Everybody should go to their library, and I believe it is April 9th. The April 9th issue of Time magazine, because their cover said, what is going to happen when whites are no longer the majority in this area of the world that we call the United States of America. And the prediction is that in a very short period of time, by the year 2000, that the majority of people in this area of the world will be blacks or African, Hispanics, and Asians. Now that article I recommend very highly to everyone because they are talking about things are going to change for us and that there are going to be some serious problems that we are going to face. And in addition to having that statement on the cover of the magazine, the picture itself was very, very interesting. If you will recall, there was a picture of a flag. You recall it? And the flag basically was the so-called American flag. It had blue in the corner, but it didn't even have white stars. The stripes, in place of the red and white stripes, they had a red stripe and then a black stripe. And then another red stripe and then a brown stripe. And then another red stripe and then a yellow stripe. And I saw this and I said, wonderful. But I said wonderful for another reason. I said wonderful because I had written a paper some time ago talking about the symbolism of the flag. And I had said that those colors, red, white, and blue, had another level of meaning other than patriotism. That the red, white, and blue on the flag actually stood for white skin, through which you could see blue veins and red arterioles. And so that is the reason that most of the flags that represent people who classify themselves as white are either white and blue or white and red or red, white, and blue. Think about it. Now, beyond that, I said that the flag was a symbolic abstraction of the problem. And the problem when there's a concern about genetic power is the power of the male. The reason being is because it is only men, whether they are white, black, brown, red, or yellow, that can impose sexual intercourse. Is that right? See that silence? People are trying to figure whether that's right. Okay. It is only men who can impose sexual intercourse. A male can decide that he is going to force a female to have sexual intercourse. Ladies, don't try it. If a female decides that she's going to force the male to have sexual intercourse and she gets a Uzi or M16 rifle and she approaches him and she frightens him to death, there's not going to be any performance. Okay. Right? Right. Okay. So that the question about genetic dominance is a question that concerns gentlemen. And so I said in the paper that I wrote some time ago that if you look, that's the, head-on front view of male genitalia, but this is a lateral view. And if you make an abstraction, and the brain makes abstractions all the time, I guess that's a very good way that it can store a whole lot of data. And if you make an abstraction of the lateral view of the male genitalia, you have a flag. Can you see that? So that when the flag is red, white, and blue, it means that a testicle produces white skin through which you can see blue veins and red arterioles. You get it? So Time magazine just proved my point, and I was thrilled because they took the white out and put on the flag black, brown, and yellow. Do you understand? And I bet if I went and found that artist, he would say, no, that isn't what that is. Okay, but the ex-president, Ronald Reagan, in his past autobiography entitled, Where is the Rest of Me? That's the name of it. But he said that when he was born, he said his father was a first-generation black Irishman. But his father said that when Reagan was born, that his skin was white, his bottom was red, and his face was blue. And ever since then, the red, white, and blue has been significant and important to him. But can you see, I don't think he really understood, but he was saying that white, his father was so glad he was white, that is the significance. So all of the furor and the laws that they're trying to develop and pass about you can't desecrate the flag is a symbolic way of saying that you cannot castrate white males, which is why there was a song saying a long time ago, the old flag can never touch the ground. Because if the flag was indeed the symbol of the testicles, if a testicle touches the ground, it means that there has taken place a castration. Do you follow? Okay. So instead of talking about sex on the job, run this down. From this discussion, I understood something that was very, very significant in our history: the lynching and castration of black men. And, you know, we haven't been able to talk about that out loud very much. I mean, it's still very horrible and something that is very, very painful. I challenge us to rise to the political occasion of being able to talk about lynching and castration and to explain why it happened. That if indeed there was the fundamental fear and concern about white genetic annihilation, it would stand to reason that there would be a horrendous attack on the black female, right? No. No. I was just playing a trick, you all. If there was concern about genetic annihilation on the part of the global as well as local white collective, then it would stand to reason that there would be a horrendous attack on the black male. Do you see? Because it is only the male that can impose the white genetic annihilation, because it's only men that can impose it, okay? So that the lynching and the castration was the expression from the white psyche, from the white male psyche specifically, but there are pictures of lynchings where you have white females and children standing around the lynched black male, you see, burning body and cheering. There are also descriptions in which the people took the genitals home. I won't say they ate them, but they took them home. You see, because there are some cultures where, to this day, people go in bars and eat the testicles of bulls. Bulls balls. How many people are aware of that or know that? Okay. Now, this is supposedly a particular male delicacy. I won't say for black males, but if we understand our ancient history, Osiris, the Egyptian god that has been described as Lord of the perfect black, the symbol of Osiris was the bull. You see, so when people are eating bull's balls, they are trying to ingest the power of the black male, okay? Now, after I figured this out, I remember one day I was sitting at home and looking at television, and there was a bullfight from somewhere in Europe on the television. We don't really have that on the television here a lot, but for some reason, there was this bullfight on the television. So I was looking at this television, and I got up to go and turn off the television because I couldn't stand the idea of their sticking those knives in that animal. And so I was horrified, and I got up to turn the television off. And just moving across the floor, I saw the expressions on the faces of the people in the audience. These were white faces, and the people, they were going out. So I said, wow, Do you see? Because their reaction was quite counter to what I was feeling. And so then I said, oh, wow, these bullfights have something to do with lynching. Because the same people that cheered in the lynching were cheering and going into orgastic spasms watching this bull be killed. And so I said, this is, yeah, right, sick. I said, this has something to do with black people. So I start, go to the library. You got to go to the library, go to the stores, pull out books, stand in the bookstore, stand in the library, and let the Spirit move you so you know what book to touch with your hand, because you don't have time to read all of them. And the Spirit will lead you, right? So I found 2 books. One's very common, the Encyclopedia Britannica, and the other was Cirlo's Dictionary of Symbols. And I bought this book a long time ago and had never really looked in it. And so I just said, well, let me just look at this book. And lo and behold, in Cirlo's Dictionary of Symbols, under bull, guess what it said? The bull is a historic symbol of the Aryan superiority over the Negro. So I had to sit down with that. But that was the last thing I expected to read. But I said, wait a minute, something is wrong. If the bull in the bullfight was the symbol of the Aryan superiority over the Negro, they wouldn't kill the black bull. So that it had been twisted and turned around, and that the bull was what? The historic symbol of the black man's superiority over white. So then I said, oh, that's what that is. And so then if you go to the Encyclopedia Britannica after that, they will tell you that bullfighting became a sport in Spain. After the Moors, the blacks were chased back into Africa. And the Africans had gone up into Spain and dominated Spain from the 700s to the 1400s for 700 years. And when they finally were defeated, everybody was colored in Spain. And so they started this symbolic activity of killing these black bulls. Do you see? And then you have little white males switch around, shaking their you-know-what in front of the bull, in suits of light. Now, do you see what I'm saying? Suits of light, meaning white people. Do you understand? And so they symbolically carry out this attack on the black male in the activity that they call entertainment of the bullfight. I also understood, if you begin to understand racism, not just they won't let me go to the toilet, they won't let me live in that neighborhood, they won't let me go to that school. That's the surface phenomenon of racism. Deep beneath that surface phenomenon is the fear of white genetic annihilation and the concern for white genetic survival. Once you begin to understand this, and that it is determined at conscious and subconscious levels, once you understand this, then a lot of things that you see around you every day will begin to be clear. Like I said, lynching will be clear. Eating chocolates will be clear. Is everybody into chocolates? Okay. The white supremacy, well, let me just back up and cover the tanning. Now, this is important. You see, this is important because we have been taught to what? Hate melanin. We have to be honest. We hate melanin. Nobody wants to be crystal black. Crystal black. See, start saying crystal black. Wow, that brother was crystal black. Wow, that sister, look at that, crystal black. See, you're supposed to say, yeah, but I felt the vibe drop. A little bit okay for the brothers, not okay for the sisters. We're going to change that as we make this revolution. Okay. Get this understood. All of the colors are fine. But we have been taught to hate the basic color. In the way that the universe works, there's no way that we are going to find the secrets of melanin as long as we hate melanin. You cannot find the meaning of melanin and simultaneously hate it. So we have to really get on top of that. But tanning, while the people who were the melanin people, under the conditions of white supremacy, were taught to hate color. So all of us learn before we learn how to read. If you are black, stay back. If you're brown, stick around. If you're yellow, you're mellow. And if you're white, you're all right. 1990, they have tested black children and found that if you give a black and white doll to black children and ask which one do they want, they will select the white doll, and this is 1990. Now, don't feel bad about the children. White supremacy is just riding on. If you look at television all day long, you're going to have to jar your brain to get white supremacy images out. Because all we see is white, 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 white. And if a child watches the television and the child never sees his or her image looking intelligent, then the child doesn't want to be that which never appears on television. You see, or the child doesn't want to be that silly-looking person that they throw in, an occasional black, or an occasional black male child that's got his hat turned around backwards. So we have to get into understanding what a turned around backwards hat means, that you don't know which direction you're supposed to go in. White supremacy understands that. That's why you will rarely, if ever, see a white male child or a white male with a hat turned around backwards. Turned around backward hats are for us, okay? But children don't want to be it because they don't see themselves on television. In addition to, this is a global system of white supremacy. The language itself teaches white supremacy. So you can watch a black weather person say it's going to be a black day today. That means it's going to be thundering, lightning, raining, hailing, everything that you don't want to face. That's supposed to be a black day. Or the stock market falls and then they say it was Black Monday or Black Tuesday. And then we'll go around and repeat, yes, it was Black Monday. That's what we have. The language under white supremacy teaches white supremacy, and so we have to systematically go through and pull out those things that are against us in the language and begin to turn it around. But the children learn, so white supremacy is being taught. Also under white supremacy, white people who we thought liked their color, unbeknownst to us, on our side of the track, we were trying to get rid of our color, wondering what kind of bath we could get into that would take some of the melanin away. And the white people were on their side of the track, even when it was cold, trying to tan. Tanning is what? Tanning is forcing cells, the melanocytes, that under normal condition in white skin cannot produce melanin. But if you bombard those cells with the ultraviolet rays of the sun, you can force them to produce small quantities of the enzyme tyrosinase. And that enzyme is essential for the production of melanin. White skin has the absence of tyrosinase, and that means that white skin is albinism. A-L-B-I-N-I-S-M. That white people say is a genetic deficiency state, not Frances Welsing, white people. They didn't expect that Frances Welsing would come along and say, well, this is the same as white skin. And it is, okay. So that while they are tanning and taking every dark substance that they can conceive of into their bodies, chocolate, Coke, coffee, tea, scotch. At least that's labeling some of them. You see, an obsession with taking dark substance into their body, in addition to calling chocolate candy erotic or chocolate cake erotic. Now, you know, Valentine's Day comes and everybody's talking about chocolate and giving ladies a Valentine box with chocolate candy and nuts in it. See, in black ladies, we're so busy being white ladies that we didn't realize we already had the chocolate with them. See. A long time ago when I was in Germany, they had a candy, their favorite candy was some little chocolate babies that were called nigger babies. That was a favorite candy in Germany. Now, I don't know whether it still is today, but it was a favorite candy, eating nigger babies, taking dark babies into their system because they could not produce dark babies. Also, Germany used to drink a lot of Coca-Cola, and then they became nationalistic and said, we need to have a cola of our own. So indeed they did. That we're drinking too much Coca-Cola, let's have a German cola. And so what do you think they called the cola that they made, the national cola for Germany? Right, somebody said it. Africola. Africola with a palm tree on the bottle with all that dark substance. You would have thought they would call it German or Deutsches Cola. No. They called it Africola to prove what it is that I'm saying. Take black substance from Africa and put it in the body that under normal circumstances cannot produce color. This also feeds into why white females at the same time that they are accusing black males of wishing to rape them, they have all kinds of I'm about to be raped clubs. Now don't misunderstand me. I am definitely not in support of any kind of rape, but we're talking about behavioral phenomena that goes on in the white supremacy system and culture. See, I've even seen teachers, white adult teachers, start talking about a little 9-year-old. Well, I didn't know what he might do to me. I mean, he's a little boy. You see, but this dynamic goes on. But what is underneath that dynamic is when they are asked to describe what is their ideal mate, what do they say? Tall, dark, and handsome. So who is attacking who? Okay? Tall, dark, and handsome. And that's why all of their idols, Rudolph Valentino, the Sheik of Araby, that's what they called him. the matinee idol and the lover, he looked like a non-white man. Elvis Presley, where people still line up and go to his grave. Why? Because he was a white male with dark hair who could move his hips like a black man and sing like a black man. When the white male dresses up in his finest dress for the most important occasions, he puts on a black tie and tails. Now, these are the same tails that they said black men had in the Second World War and the First World War. The white males who went to Europe said to the white ladies, you don't want to have sex with the black man because they have tails. Now, what they were referring to is the length of the penis in front. Do you follow me? But when the white male dresses up, he wants to have this long thing hanging down in the back of him. Okay? Are you all following me? Okay. We can call this exploring the contradictions of white supremacy. Okay. I guess you have ball games. What are the two series of ball games under white supremacy? For you, those of you who know, don't tell, let some new people guess. What are the two series of ball games in the white supremacy system and culture? Baseball. Those are C answers. You can't pass the course. Now remember, this is the key. This is the key that you have to keep in mind. The key is male genitalia, and the real key is black male genitalia. The concern of the entire white supremacy system and culture revolves around this issue. Okay, what are these things called? Testicles. But you're right. The testicles are also called balls, right? And the culture says what? Keep your eye on the ball. Now, we didn't know. We thought, well, watch the baseball as it's coming towards the bat. No, these are the balls. Okay. So I asked the question again, what are the two series of ball games in the white supremacy system and culture? Everybody looks at it, but not being trained. See, we're right now training ourselves to look at the dynamic of white supremacy, understanding it in depth, deep down underneath, so that we have a different perspective of what the surface phenomena is. Understanding the issue in white supremacy, there are two series of ball games, big brown and small white. Oh! All the balls fall under these categories. Let's start on the white side. Ping pong, tennis, golf, baseball. That's about it, right? Okay. Big brown, football, basketball, soccer, bowling ball, medicine ball. Got some medicine for you. Okay. Now, what are the balls that the most virile men play with? The big brown, right? The men that are considered to be most manly play with the big brown balls, football, basketball, right? Now let's look and see where these balls go. The football goes into some white upright legs at the end of the field. The basketball goes into a white net. And then on the side, we have these little white dancing girls in short dresses. Oh. Oh. And hardly a black girl can get on the team, right? These are the ladies who say that their ideal mates are tall, dark, and handsome. Do you follow? They are really playing out before the black men begin to dominate, and I said it's no accident that they would dominate the games that have the big brown balls in it, okay? But before they really wanted to let black men play, then white males were playing with these big brown balls, pretending that they were the tall, dark, and handsome persons that the white female said that she liked best. Okay. The small white balls. What is the game that the most powerful white men play? Golf. And what happens to that little ball? That little white ball goes into a hole in black Mother Earth because white men say they're not men until they've had sexual intercourse with a black woman. Do you understand? So there they stand, long stick between legs, trying to put that little white ball in a hole in one. Do you follow? Everything is racism. What are the two series of smoking objects in the white supremacy system and culture? No, come on, I've told you. See, keep this in your mind. Big brown and small white. Big brown, cigars, pipes, and Moors. They say they taste better. Small white, cigarettes. And what is the slang for cigarettes? Fags. See, consult your dictionary. I don't make any of this stuff up. White men said that the cigarette compared to the cigar was effeminate. Do you understand? So what we have is a big dynamic of envy. Envy, okay? The men that are considered to be most powerful smoke what? Cigars. The men that are supposed to be most intelligent smoke pipes. So that at the same time that black people, because right now we have the disease that is killing us of black self-hate, in a culture that really admires black. Do you see, if the man that is supposed to be most intelligent smokes a big black pipe, and the one who is supposed to be most powerful smokes a big black cigar, they are paying tribute to the black people of Africa, and the black men specifically. Do you understand? Just like if somebody is supposed to have knowledge, then you graduate in a black gown and a cap. If you are supposed to know about God, then you wear a black robe. If you are supposed to understand justice, you wear a black robe. At the same time that they have taught us to hate black. Those of us who already have the black mantle of melanin, all right? We have an epidemic of black male on black male homicide with gun. But look at this. This is the issue. If we turn that around, or we're looking at the lateral view, and we turn it around 90 degrees, we see this, and what is that? A gun. And what is the gun called in the white supremacy system and culture? the great equalizer. The reason being is that when the white male brain computer looks at the black male and looks at his genitals and realizes that the black male has dominant genetic material in his genitals, that he has genetic material that can cause white genetic annihilation, the white brain computer goes something like this. He has weapon that can annihilate me. Must create weapon, can do same thing. So he creates the great equalizer. The gun can kill black men because the white supremacy system and culture realized that the black male had genetic material that can cause white genetic annihilation, which is what they consider to be white death. Do you understand? So we go from that to having what? Justifiable homicide. Justifiable homicide is not simply somebody with a gun for self-defense killing somebody else. Very specifically, it is a white male with a uniform and a gun who kills a non-white male and says, whether he's 14 or 44, I thought he had a weapon. Well, he does have a weapon. But he did not have a knife or gun. But just that very perception that the black male's genitals has the power to cause white genetic annihilation produces the conscious or subconscious attitude of justifiable homicide. You with that, right? Yeah. So I think that it is important, it really is important, I would recommend, but you think about it, that we have dialogues instead of, because almost every month some black male is being killed, whether it's 13-year-old somebody or 18-year-old somebody, and then the black people get angry and we start fuming and carrying placards. I would say it would be much more effective to hold a press conference and say this is abominable activity, but we understand why it exists. You see, and begin to talk about the fear of white genetic annihilation in the thinking of the white collective, okay? Now, when we understand this, we will begin to understand this horrific attack that is on black people in general and black men in particular, because it has everything to do with what is happening to us in our families, so-called, in our communities, so-called, in the schools and everywhere. Here's the black male and the black female. You know, we're always talking about black male-female relations and how we have to understand each other more and be sensitive to each other. I maintain the most important thing that we have to understand is the attack of white supremacy. Because white supremacy, with its most fundamental concern for white genetic survival, says that the black male has to be attacked. And that attack comes in the form of unemployment, underemployment. And when that happens, then there's all kind of friction in the so-called black family. Sometimes I prefer to call it a survival unit. Okay? So when this attack comes, if the people are not skilled in an understanding of white supremacy so they can sit down in the kitchen and talk about this is what is happening to us, you are fine and I'm fine, but white supremacy is raising hell with us. And so we must therefore intensify our effort against white supremacy. Do you see what I'm saying? Not go and get some more perfume or bath oil. You see why? Because this is a war. This is a war. This is Lebanon. See, if we understood that this was Lebanon, then everything that is happening would be clear. But as long as we don't want to face the fact that this is war, white supremacy is war against non-white people, most specifically against black non-white people, because black people have the highest level of melanin pigmentation production that can most effectively cause white genetic annihilation. So the war is hitting us very heavily at this time. If we don't understand that it's war, we can go round and around and around and around in a circle and never come out in terms of a solution to black male-female relations. For example, and this, we can discuss this in debate. People used to suggest that, well, one black man, since all the black men are being killed, that one black man then have several wives. And I would say that, okay, but I don't see that it works. Because if there's an attack on a male, he cannot support himself. Then if he has 5 wives, then they would end up supporting him, so manhood would be divided by 5. If there was not white supremacy, then manhood would be
You already know the vibe. Peace community, peace community. Salute to everybody that's tuned into this one today. You already know I'm going to break this down into 2 parts because I want anybody in the future to digest this content and digest what Dr. Frances Cress Welsing is saying and trying to not only iterate but reiterate over and over again in this video. Shout out to Debo, he in the chat. You already know you always love Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, and I thought about him when I actually thought about posting this video. So you already know I'm about to section this off right here, and I'll be back with the part 2 right now. All you got to do is refresh. Remember, everybody drop their like, share the content, support the community. We appreciate everybody. We support everyone. That's what we're all about. You already know the vibe. We'll be back in 1